So I'm asking, if you think that Israel and France were involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and you say with full confidence,
I think with full confidence that you know you lost the substance of this debate. What is your issue with this statement?
Evidence.
I think that Israel is involved.
That's not just what you said.
The raging narcissist Candace Owens saying, just shut up, you perpetual victim. Shut the f up, Nick. I'd say it's certainly a win that you pocketed $300,000.
As it currently stands, they want us to believe that Tyler Robinson woke himself up before 4 a.m. to make it up to campus when they then catch him walking by the neighbor's house at 8:07 a.m. because he's wearing his maroon shirt, his favorite shirt. He returns to the scene of the crime, and if I am understanding now...
By the way, does Macron have AP? I'd still like to know. No Diddy, but, free Diddy. So the much anticipated debate between Candace Owens and Andrew Wilson just took place, and the internet is going crazy.
Today, which is the first time this information's ever been publicly revealed. On September 9th, Charlie's security team wrote to him, yes, law enforcement has been fully supportive and agreed to a security plan and posture. Tomorrow's event will be covered by both my team and the campus PD. If additional support is required, patrol units will be available. I have 11 on site. Charlie responded with this. Okay, great. Remind them that they are there for one person's security only, because I'm somewhat worried the left is trying to kill me. That was a message sent September 9th.
But he was not messaging people the day before saying, I'm going to be murdered. They're coming after me. Someone's going to kill me. He didn't say that. And I have his cell phone.
Whatever could he have meant by that? Well, I think he meant exactly what he said. That he was worried the left was going to try to kill him.
Listen, regardless of if you're a Sneeko fan and you're extremely retarded and inbred, the left and the right, they are real, okay? The left was literally celebrating. They were saying how happy they were that this happened. Notice how every Fed is desperately trying to make this about the left. It was a psyop, guys. Every one of those leftists that was cheering and so happy that it happened, they were actually paid by Netanyahu himself, actually. Trust me, this is what happened, guys. But the point is, regardless of if you believe that Israel did it or Tyler Robinson did it, you cannot deny that the left really hated Charlie Kirk. Now, my personal belief is that Tyler Robinson did do it. He's admitting it, and so are his lawyers. Now, the only thing that I'm iffy about is if he did it on behalf of Israel. Unlike the low IQ, anti-Semitic, inbred goyim online, they believe like he just didn't do it at all. It was just a matrix. It was magic. It was an explosion. The mic. It was a guy with a zipper that actually exploded it. All the madness that they were going with.
Well, we came here today to debate, and so let's get to it. The debate topic today is, one, my belief that there's overwhelming evidence that Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk, and two, Candace's belief that there's overwhelming evidence that Tyler Robinson was a patsy and didn't kill Charlie Kirk. In sum, the audience is going to decide who has more evidence supporting their theory. She claims that there's more evidence that Tyler is not guilty and was set up as a patsy than there is for the state's case. And I just think that that's absurd. Okay.
As a patsy.
So this is why I said earlier, so what? Because even if it's the case that this doesn't have an explanation for it yet, that doesn't actually give you any evidence in your corner for Tyler Robinson being a patsy.
Okay,
hang on. I didn't cut you off, right? You would need to actually explain how this would demonstrate Tyler Robinson. This is tied into Robinson being a patsy. Are you claiming that these fingerprints were Lance Twiggs or that he had any DNA there?
I said it's evidence to support the claim that he could have been set up. I'm saying that it could be Matt Robinson, it could be Amber Robinson. That sort of information is going to come out during the trial.
How would that tie into the idea that he's a patsy?
Yes,
though?
because if his is the most degraded prints and the information that I shared on my platform is true, that this gun was given to Tyler Robinson as an heirloom. I had conversation with members of the Robinson family, Twiggs family, both of them. You know, like I said, we're not just dreaming.
And she will not be able to demonstrate that in any way. In fact, she has almost no real evidence at all of her theory, whereas my theory is supported by compelling witness testimony, physical evidence, multiple confessions, all of which are independently compelling, but which are even more convincing as each piece of evidence corroborates the others. I see almost no evidence at all, only speculation on verified claims, dreams, vibes, feelings, things like this.
Not only did they admit to it, they're even pleading for him not to get executed because, in their words, they're saying that he actually didn't endanger anybody else. He shot his target, and that was it. That is what his lawyers are arguing. So these are facts. Candace Owens comes with conspiracies.
Now, we'll discuss this more later on in the debate, and maybe I have more never-before-seen evidence that exposes just how wrong and, in my opinion, idiotic many of these conspiracy theories have been. But that's what happens when you rely on what's called the evidence of the gaps. In other words, they don't have evidence, they seem to just make up evidence. And what did they make up? Well, in my opinion, kind of whatever lined the pockets. But if I'm honest, the reason I was willing to pay the $300,000 for this debate was to finally have a chance for someone to demand Candace be held accountable for the unbelievable theories and claims she's been making. She uses her considerable platform to relentlessly attacking the very organization Charlie spent his life building.
When you tweeted Erica's two returns to kill her husband.
Yeah.
Would you like to explain how you developed your evidence, your positive evidence for the fact that Erica was?
Yeah, sure. So
Yeah.
I just think all women are retarded.
Oh, so you're allowed to just say
Nice.
stuff. Who knew? So, and,
You
and,
just
and by
asked
the way,
me. And I think it's ghoulish to profit off of the death of a good man.
Now think about that. Candace Owens wouldn't do the debate for free. Why do you need more money? You've made millions and millions and millions of dollars from milking this. And pretty much every other grift and every other shit story that she has made up. I believe in Candace Owens once we see a picture of Macron's cock. Like literal insanity, what she was out there saying. She also had like multiple ads from her sponsors on this debate. When is it enough? How much money is enough? Candace Owens, who's possibly deranged, she's alleging that Erica Kirk had something to do with the assassination. First of all, this would be incredibly because things like this are not told to people like Erica Kirk. If this was indeed organized by Israel, I guarantee you the top people in Mossad have no clue of this. Probably from Mossad, a small group that would be facilitating this. This would be extremely secretive, to the point that possibly they'd all get wiped off later. Not, oh, Erica Kirk, so we're gonna husband. That's not how this goes. This is literally
Erica's complicit. If you guys want to play that video.
I'll just ask.
And so right now, their guys are going out and they're going to look for evidence. And then by May, which is fortunately around the corner, then she'll see what they found. So what the F is that performance? How could you sit up there and say, yes, I 100% believe Tyler Robinson did it. That right there is why it is impossible for me to think that Erica Kirk is not complicit somehow. Because
Those two thoughts actually don't even follow. How would it be the case that even if Erica Kirk did believe that Tyler Robinson was 100% responsible for the death of Charlie Kirk, let's just say she believed it with every fiber of her being, believed all the evidence, because she did. She just actually did. Would it then follow that somehow she's complicit in his death?
You added those two words.
Okay, so what's she complicit in?
Yes. So sowing this narrative that Tyler Robinson is guilty. So you're chopping up clips. Like I said, you didn't have the confidence to
Okay,
come
well,
in
tell me,
debate. So
what
now
does
you're
that mean?
chopping it
What
up.
does complicit mean?
We are showing a clip of her on Barry Weiss, which I can't remember the date that she did that interview. And Erica, when she is asked, "Are you, do you feel with 100% certainty that Tyler Robinson did this?" And she says, "I do." Then again, context matters. I sit down with Erica for 4 hours under the assumption that she had some evidence, right? This is why I did not engage in any like Erica, everyone's questioning what she's wearing and all this stuff. I was like, I'm going to wait here because I don't know, just it feels weird to think that, did I think that some of her mannerisms were weird and stuff like that? Yeah, that's not, you can't convict somebody on weird mannerisms. And then when I sat down with her and I was expecting for her to say, well, I'm obviously the victim on the case and we got to see the shot, taken or this or that, whatever it is. Great. That's why she has that much confidence 2 months ago. And when I sat down with her, it was nothing. It was nothing. Okay. So this is a conversation.
How would that make her complicit?
Well, if you let me finish my sentence, I could tell you that. But my point being is that then you take a look at this and you go, okay, well, this is weird. Why would you have this confidence? And then when you sit across from somebody and you say, okay, great, I want to go out there and defend you now. I want people to know that you can't say this stuff publicly, but you know more things. And she just blanks. And then she says, well, I'm going to call the lawyer. And she called the lawyer. Again, all this is on my show. So out of context clips, it's not going to work because I know what I say on my show. Okay. So we call her lawyer and her lawyer says to us, she calls him on the phone, pardon me. And it's me, her, and Justin Strife. And I'm like, okay, great. What do you guys have? He goes, well, we don't have anything yet. We're not at that phase yet. And I'm like, well, what do you mean you don't have anything? And he says, well, don't you know how it works? It's a probable cause hearing. So basically the state says that they're going to bring this forward. And now our people go out and they look for the evidence to assert that Tyler Robinson is guilty. And so I asked her directly, her lawyer directly, the phone's in between us. I'm like, wait, so just so I'm clear, you haven't seen anything that the public hasn't seen? And he says, no. So I'm going back in my head and I'm going, okay, so why is Erica saying with such a degree of certainty, like she was sent out to convince the public and people bit, by the way. I remember even Megyn Kelly was like, let's wait. She's going to have access to things. I did think she had access to things that we didn't have. Why express that confidence to the public as opposed to just being like, we don't know yet. I feel confident he's involved. They made an arrest.
I don't understand. How would any of this make her complicit and in what?
Well, I've already told you. She's complicit in trying to fool the public into thinking this is some open and shut case.
How is she trying to fool the public into this? If she believes
don't look
if she
anywhere
believes
else.
that Tyler Robinson killed Kirk, if she believes that, how would that be complicit in anything?
They're both making good points.
Are you saying that you think she doesn't believe it?
I don't believe that at that stage she sat down with Barry Weiss that's what she believes. No, but that's my opinion.
Right. But so when you just say complicit, you just mean she believes that Tyler Robinson killed Kirk? That's it?
That's what we were talking about. That's why I said if your strategy was to dice up clips and take it out of context and make it seem like I said she was complicit.
Everything.
Yeah, but then why not just play the full thing? Like why?
Because we don't have like infinite amounts of time, I'm guessing.
We should be speaking. This
Yeah, I
isn't
know,
like
but
you
I
get to
wanna-
sit.
I wanna
Like
ask
said,
you
if you
some
wanted to
questions.
depose me, you should join
I'm not
Brigitte
deposing
Macron's
you.
defense team.
This
But
is
you're like,
part-
I'm
this
just
is
going
a
to ask questions.
legitimate
Can you
part-
answer it? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know what you're going to ask. And
I
I'm
know.
going to answer
And if
as
you
I
have
see
issues
fit
with
because
it,
I'm not.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get
okay,
it.
Just so we're clear.
Usually in a debate, if something's not loaded, I'm just direct with
Because
the
you kept
question,
saying
with
I'm
the
Joe
answer.
Rogan. They have no evidence. They have no evidence. And now you're like, let's move away from the evidence.
You
Just talk about transcendentals.
yeah, okay. Anyway, so direct question, super easy. Was Lance Twiggs DNA on the rifle, as far as you know?
We can't say that for certainty.
As far as you know.
I already answered that in the first part. We can't say that for certainty. I told you the context of which they spoke about those things.
So
was-
no, as far as you know.
We can't say that for certainty until we know what other the 5 sets of prints were on
So that
there.
would be no, as far as you know.
We can't say that for certainty. I actually,
You can
I'm
say
just,
that
you
for
know,
certainty.
if your energy here is going to be like you're my dad and you can tell me how to speak or what I'm supposed to say, you're just going to come up against the wall. I'm
Okay,
familiar with
but-
this debate strategy.
but I
like,
am just
yes or no,
telling
yes or
you.
no, yes or no. We're not debating anymore. We're having a conversation. So I already addressed that in the first half of this about why.
No, we're still
there's-
definitely debating. This is still.
no, it's not a debate.
This is
Now
inclined
this
to
is
your.
you saying I want to probe
Yeah.
things that sit outside of the evidence. I actually already
That you've
addressed this.
stated.
You asked me.
Uh-huh.
You're not going to go like where you're
Okay.
sitting and I'm on trial. I'm not on trial.
Okay, let's talk about the Foreign Legion.
Sure.
Was the Foreign Legion, do you believe, trying to kill you?
Yes, that's why I reported it to the correct officials in government. That's what I was told, and I handed over that information to Tulsi Gabbard's office.
What's your best piece of evidence for that?
Well, it was
Positive evidence.
It was told to me by somebody who is high up in the French government. I passed off that information to Tulsi Gabbard's office. I also passed it off to Trump's office, Donald Trump's office. And that's all I can tell you. I wouldn't be able to probe any evidence because I don't have the power to do that. I'm not the federal government. And I would also like to say that this becomes this other piece of what you do, which is when people say, I was told this, and this is the evidence that I have, and I'm willing to have that conversation and write the email to the correct government body that deals with this. Like, I can't hack in. Like, well, I got the information and I gave the information that I got from who I got it to the right body of people. And that's
Okay.
what I did.
Got it. I just want
Cool.
to make sure.
And so
I'm not trying to trap you.
Well,
I just want to make sure I got it clear.
And that's why I say I want to know what you're doing now, because this has always been the thing. It's like, we actually can't win on the overwhelming claim. So we're just going to go and bring up everything that I think can try to embarrass her. I reported
I'm
exactly
not
as I
trying to
received
embarrass
it.
you. I just want to make sure that I get your
Yes,
positions clear.
I have not said, yeah, go ahead.
Now, you have stated multiple times that you believe that Israel's involved in the death of Charlie Kirk.
Can you give
Yes,
me...
we can pull up the clip.
Can
I'm sorry. I'm just saying.
I finish the sentence?
Go ahead.
Can you give me the context for what are you talking about? Like when I say, generally speaking, why people think that Israel's involved?
hmm
Okay, where's your question?
Yeah. Do you have any positive evidence whatsoever that Israel killed Charlie Kirk?
Well, I couldn't say Israel was on the ground and shot and killed Charlie Kirk. I would say that there are various things that we're trying to establish, one being a motive. And since I don't believe that Tyler Robinson and his transferee is a convincing motive because he was fired up about politics, which Lance testified that he never spoke about with him, nor do I believe that he was so into LGBTQ issues, since Lance testified they never spoke about LGBTQ issues, that he stopped and ate at Chick-fil-A, which if you are into LGBTQ issues, wouldn't be your lunch before you go kill Charlie Kirk for LGBTQ issues, because,
Yeah, but do you have positive evidence?
I'm answering the question as I feel like I want to answer it. Like I said, you don't get to for an hour and a half.
But the question I'm
questions and
asking is
tell me.
about positive evidence.
I'm telling you that in any case, establishing a motive. But the reason why people find Israel to be an interesting question is because, truthfully, Charlie's perspectives were changing on Israel.
Sure.
And he was starting to realize how much pressure was being put on not just our government to constantly fight their wars, but also being put on his organization personally. If people had come out and been honest about that, rather than rabid claiming he never flinched and everybody's lying and this is not true, you would probably have people that just go, that's life. People change their opinions.
Yeah, but that's what people from the Israeli lobby would do. That doesn't change anything. Did Israel commit the Holocaust on themselves? They lie about that. It's kind of dumb.
And then there was the rabid, not even that. It's like everything was about trying to convince the public how much he liked it.
So then, other
Israel.
than intuition, how you feel about things, do you have any evidence Israel was involved in killing Charlie Kirk?
I have already said, and if you're watching my show in the context of what I said, this is the general sense of why people think Israel's involved. As it currently stands, they want us to believe that Tyler Robinson slept at home and then woke himself up before 4 a.m. on September 10th of 2025 because he had to leave his house in St. George before 4 a.m. to make it up to campus when they then catch him on walking by the neighbor's house at 8:07 a.m. That's that TMZ released footage. 8:07 a.m. His back of his car pulls into the garage, finds the surveillance cameras in the garage, en route to go approach a Turning Point employee. It's like, I'm going to wear my favorite shirt to approach a Turning Point employee because I intend to kill their boss. He said, apparently, hey, is this where the Charlie Kirk event is going to be? And she probably was like, yeah, it is. He then went to Chick-fil-A on campus. We haven't seen any footage from that yet. We haven't been told much about that. My assumption is he had a meal before he decided that it was time to do crime. He then drives off campus, parks, changes his outfit, puts on a long sleeve black shirt, puts on blue jeans, and he says to himself, before we do crime, we do Wordle. That's a fact. At 11:28, he sent his Wordle score to his friends. The word of the day was pouty, in case you're wondering. Then he shoves a broken down German 98 Mauser into his pants, and he starts limping back onto campus with a new hat, a new backpack, and we all know what happens next. He then jumps off of the building after killing Charlie Kirk, lands onto solid ground, like he had been practicing that maneuver. And what we know for certain is that he then changes back into his maroon shirt, but he leaves the jeans on. He's then spotted at Dairy Queen. He really loves that shirt. He then departs Orem and drives 3 hours down to Panguish, to the Cowboy Steakhouse, where he seats himself at the bar and he orders a steak combo with a soft drink. I want to emphasize that. No alcohol, presumably because he doesn't want to drive irresponsibly and, risking getting a DUI. Probably doesn't want to hurt anybody. So after that steak, he drives back up to Orem. I mean, whew, long drive. Another 3 hours, this time because he wants to retrieve his rifle during what is the largest federal manhunt of my lifetime and probably every single person who's listening to this podcast lifetime. But Tyler's feeling lucky because he's wearing his maroon shirt, his favorite shirt. He returns to the scene of the crime, and if I am understanding now, Tyler stopped his car to ask the police officer a question. So he commits a murder, drives for 3 hours, and is feeling confident enough to actually ask the police officer a question. Because I want to point out that he's been away for a long time now. At some point, he gives up and he says, I'm not going to retrieve my rifle. And he decides to drive the 4 hours back to his apartment in St. George. So we can make a safe estimate that he left Orem around 1:35 a.m. And then he drives back to St. George and arrives earliest at 5 a.m. I'm just wondering if anybody tested Tyler Robinson for cocaine or meth. Because according to this breakdown, he's been awake for 25 hours straight, during which he has driven an approximate 13 hours and 20 minutes. 13 hours and 20 minutes of driving, up for 25 hours. Now, for clarity, in 13 hours and 20 minutes, you can drive from New Orleans, Louisiana to Chicago in that time frame. Tyler Robinson, he's just driving about. He decided he just was going to go around Utah after committing his first assassination. And if you're thinking, okay, 25 hours is long, he probably then went to sleep, you'd be wrong. You'd be very wrong. If you're thinking, well, he must have at least when he finally got home showered and changed his shirt, you'd be forgetting that this is his favorite one. What happens, according to the narrative, is he stays home for an hour before he heads back out again, this time driving about an hour away to Cedar City, because that's where he's captured on gas station footage, filling up his tank. And we don't actually have an answer for why he went to get gas that far away. But apparently, this young man just loves to drive. So why get gas local when you can get gas an hour away? And then we know he will drive back home. This is according to Lance's testimony. Lance will testify that he sees him when he wakes up. They're face to face in their apartment. He still hasn't changed his shirt, I don't think. And we're just supposed to accept it. I don't know, guys. I think that one day many books will be written regarding the stupidity, the sheer stupidity of the FedSlop. And I'm probably gonna write a book entitled "I Went All the Way to Orem to Commit an Assassination and All I Got Was a Maroon T-shirt?" ? Because that's what this feels like. Nobody has made the claim that Israelis. There were also, obviously
Ian
Joe
Carroll
Kent
made the claim.
Well, Joe Kent, who I think would have the right to assert it, noted that there were 12 Israeli cell phones on the ground that day. I think most people would like to probe that. Now, it could be maybe they were students, and they were Israeli students in Utah that day. But we'd like to probe that narrative because what we've seen after coming from the Israeli government, the Israeli prime minister, kind of denying that he did it, which wasn't really necessary, was quite busy. The phone call that happened, which no one wants to discuss, in the Hamptons the week prior, or not the week prior, I think it was around August 5th or 6th that took place. Mm-hmm. And again, the almost desperate lies about...
I don't know what the video is.
My guess is Pierre. Erica. I think that there's a reason Pierre knew that Charlie was dead first. I think there's a reason he was a priority. How? Why? I think France and Israel are involved in Charlie Kirk's assassination. And I'm going to put that out there with full confidence.
Okay.
I also
involvement.
I understand.
Yeah.
So you think you with full confidence, you think that
I think Israel's
France
involved.
and Israel.
Yeah. I mean, the person that gave me that thing that I reported said that French Foreign Legion were on the ground that day. Mm-hmm. Again, this would be at a professional limitation for me to then go and probe that information that I handed over. I can't do that. I'm not the United States government.
But you don't have any positive evidence.
That's kind of weird because France and Israel are always headbutting. As a matter of fact, France recognized Palestine as a state, which, as you know, Israel completely hates. So, I don't know. That's kind of odd.
Right.
I don't. Can you just stop? It's actually just like annoying to hear you keep saying positive evidence. I've just asked me what I think, and I just tell you, yes, I think they are
that's
involved.
a claim.
No, I said here's what I think.
I have every right to ask you about your claim.
Yeah, but
and if there's positive evidence
in
for
this
your
statement,
claim.
I literally just said I think, and I am allowed to think. And
Yeah,
you
you're
keep
allowed to
saying,
think,
do you have
but you're
positive
making a
evidence?
claim.
I have tons of positive evidence that I'm allowed to think. Yes.
I agree. You're allowed to think.
Okay. So,
Nobody's disputing whether or not
yeah,
Candace Owens is allowed to think. What I'm asking is
but
you have
what's your issue then? What is your issue with the statement?
evidence.
I think that Israel is involved.
That's not just what you said. You said
Could be
I did say I
possible.
think.
it's with full confidence.
Yes.
You would think that if you had full
Can you have confidence
confidence
to think when you think?
if I said, for instance, I think I'm going to be late to work, right? With full confidence, I would say my evidence for that is that I'm 20 minutes away and I need to be there in 5.
Andrew,
That's how you would know whether or not you had full
I'm just
confidence.
going to tell you something.
Hang on, let me finish.
Sure.
Let me finish. If it was the case that I said I have full confidence I'm going to be late to work, I would say my evidence that I'm going to be is that work is 20 minutes away, right? And I have to be there in 5. So I have full confidence. That's why I would think that. So I'm asking, if you think that Israel and France were involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and you say with full confidence, I'm just asking for the evidence, or at least walk me through the mindset of why it is that you could think that with
I
evidence.
actually don't have to walk you through why I think. I can give you something that I think with full confidence. I think with full confidence that you know you lost the substance of this debate, and now you're moving toward things that I have said that I think, which I can do. I'm
They're
allowed to think
pertinent to this debate.
It's not exactly pertinent to this
It's
debate.
100% pertinent.
It's
Should
not
be
pertinent because
disingenuous.
our
These
debate
are claims made about Charlie Kirk's assassination. That's the complete
But
substance of the debate.
no, actually, would you like to remind him of what our debate claims actually were?
And would you like to remind
You
that you
said-
said I could ask you about any of these things
I
to my
said
heart's
feel
content?
free, but you do not get to structure how I'm allowed to reply or ask me
I'm
why
not
are you allowed
structuring
to
how you're
think.
allowed to reply. I'm
We're
just asking you
asking
direct
for
questions.
evidence on why you're confident in your thought process. Well, she doesn't have to, guys. That makes a lot of sense. Whatever.
I have full confidence that you do not feel that you represented your claim well. And so now what you came
That's
prepared
nice.
to
I
do
just
is
wanna
to
know-
present yourself like a professor of
I
fallacies.
just want to know.
And to say, you're not allowed to say that. You can't. It's
You
my
can say
podcast.
whatever you want.
Well,
Nobody's
I said
disputing that.
It
I'm
seems
asking-
like you are disputing
I'm
it.
asking
I think that
specifically
when this
why
is
you
all
think
said
that.
and done, I've already explained to you. I explained at the beginning of this why I think Israel is ultimately going
France.
to be proven to have involvement in this. I just explained to you in the middle, and now you're wanting me to structure the sentence or provide evidence. You don't have to. You're just allowed to think. And I've explained to you my thought process. I don't need to structure it in a sentence. If you feel like a professor today, you picked the wrong day.
Don't you think that like tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people would want to know what Candace Owens' positive evidence for why it is
No, I
that
don't.
Israel and France were involved in the most traumatic public assassination of Gen Z's lifetime is?
That's why they watch my podcast.
So you're just going to drip to them? Like,
They watch your podcast to get an answer to the question that Andrew Wilson is asking, and we did not get it. And neither are we getting it now. By the way, does Macron have a penis? I'd still like to know. No Diddy, but, free Diddy. I would like to examine her. No, I'm just joking.
here's why
It's
I
not
think
dripping.
that.
Every time we come across any of these discussions, they're watching this in context and they know why I'm saying it. So, for example, when you're bringing up, Candace, where's your evidence for France doing this? I just told you someone who was high ranking in the French government, right?
Who's nameless.
Of course.
Of course.
Of course.
Of course.
But
So there's good reason to
it's not
doubt
a
this.
conspiracy, though, if I then took it to the federal government. Like, you can't just go out there making a claim to the federal government. You get in trouble for making false statements and things of that nature. So, and then you go, well, I'm going to probe that. Well, how can you probe that? This happened
I
to
can
me.
ask you, well,
This
that's
is
not
my
what I'm probing
podcast.
specifically.
This is my podcast. I'm sharing my life and my experiences and what has happened to me. And you're basically coming in like you're going to, regulate how I'm allowed to say
Nope,
it if
I'm
I'm
not
allowed
trying to
to say
regulate
it.
anything. I'm asking very
you're
pertinent
sounding a bit
questions.
like a professor trying to regulate and say, Candace,
You sound
you
very
can't say, I
defensive
think.
and like you just don't want to answer questions.
I did answer your question 3
You
times. I just
literally-
didn't say it in the way that you wanted me
You
to
just
say
kind
it.
of obfuscate and you run away from it. But I would like for you to actually
let's just go
focus
through every
on it.
clip that you guys have prepared because it's pretty. I think with full confidence, people will recognize the strategy that you're trying to employ. So let's get to the next clip you have prepared.
Sure, they can pull up whatever clips.
Whatever
they
it
want.
is
Yeah.
that you guys have prepared. So
But
let's go.
there, but I
Well,
would
thank you.
still, on this point, I just want to make sure that you have full confidence that France and Israel were involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk.
I think in
and
the
you
end-
have no evidence for it at all that you'll give us.
Well, I already did tell you where it came from. Like I said, I can explain it to you. I can't understand
Did
it
that
for
same
you. So if
higher
you
up
need to,
tell you
if you
that
need
he was
to,
going to kill, or that France killed Charlie Kirk, or just that you were in danger?
they said that the French Foreign Legion was involved and on the ground that day. I've already said that. You just don't like hearing it.
No,
Candace, just out of curiosity,
Yes.
when you pass down that message to Tulsi or Trump,
Tulsi's office, yes.
Tulsi's office, are you giving them who told you that, or you're just saying, here's what I heard from
And
somebody?
I have this information.
Sure.
And of course, if they wanted to open a file on it, which I thought was quite mysterious.
Oh, she's dodging. That's a dodge. Then it makes it almost not even credible at all. They're asking her specifically.
Mysterious that Trump's office never got back to us. It was kind of weird about like from maybe they're not the correct office to. I did receive a response from Tulsi Gabbard's office, but
Did you send them the
especially
source
because
of the
this was
claim?
at a time where they were saying that they wanted to explore every possible lead.
She's dodging. Nah, she can't get away with that. She's dodging.
I even texted Dan Bongino.
But did you-
So actually, it was three offices.
Again.
Let me ask
The
one question. and then
executive
I'm gonna come to
office,
you.
Dan Bongino,
She's running.
and Tulsi Gabbard's office.
Okay,
What
so
are
the
you
follow-up to
running?
that is the following. If they contact you to say, is that specifically to the French government or Israel's involvement in the killing of Charlie Kirk?
That wasn't about
Those
Israel.
are two separate things.
That wasn't about Israel.
Okay,
They were
got it.
saying the French foreign, that person as a part of it was saying that it was the French Foreign Legion that was on the ground that
So
day.
I'm surprised
And
they
I
haven't
think
called you.
Then I find that to be very strange too.
I do as well.
Because who would want to make a report? Like, I mean, I've never made a report with the federal
But when
government.
he did- but
Let
when
me
he
just
did
ask one
send
question.
it-
Let me just ask one question, and I'm going to bring it to you.
Sure.
The question is, in regards to, I've not seen that clip, so I'm seeing it now. I'm full confidence. I believe that Israel and French was involved. Is that also based on a source that somebody told you that Israel was involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk, or is that a gut feeling?
So in terms of Israel, I mean, what I've said is what I publicly have said here. I do think that at the end of this, we are going to find that Israel was involved. I do. Now, in terms of any of the hard evidence that's been presented, I think this has been a huge problem that a lot of us have had is that they won't even explore anything else that was going on in Charlie's life personally. So if we're not satisfied that Tyler Robinson did this in any way, then every alternative theory should be explored. Other evidence should be brought forward. We've done that in our capacity. Like when people keep saying she has no evidence, it's kind of crazy. I think we've broken like more stories than any news source in the world. I mean, down to pictures, details, police officers, what the dog's name was, because we're not the only people that believe there's a conspiracy here. The police officers that were involved, the many police, sheriff's offices, that were departments that were involved that day, all believe there was a conspiracy. Down to the U.S. Marshals believe there was a conspiracy. They were my sources at the U.S. Marshals were saying they were basically sent on a wild goose chase that day.
But do you see how you say my sources?
Am I not allowed to have sources?
Well,
Like
the thing that's funny.
So is CNN allowed to have
well,
sources?
hang on. I
but
have
we can't?
sources.
That's disingenuous. Am I not allowed to have sources? That's a joke.
I have sources that claim none of that's true. Funny
So
you-
is CNN allowed to have
Well,
sources?
hang on. I
but
have
we can't?
sources. If I said I have sources that claim none of that's true. In fact, my sources claim that her sources are lying. My sources claim that there is none of them believe that there's a conspiracy. My sources claim all of them really think that Tyler Robinson was a lone gunman. If I just said that as hypothetical, wouldn't you say what?
Yeah, I think what probably adds weight is like then when I drop photos of the car that no one was supposed to see, people go, okay, her sources are legit. So, and then when what I say is then proven in court and nobody knew those things, people are recognizing that my sources are legit. When I say Charlie was here in the last days, and then I dropped the text message, which you've just learned about a couple of weeks ago, of him saying he was leaving the pro-Israel cause when everyone was lying about that, then they say, I think Candace's sources are legit. So I think what's happened is I've actually built up a rapport with my audience that it's not vibes and dreams, and that's why they keep watching my content, because like, for example, when I just the other day released the content of the shooter on the roof doing the lateral crawl, then they're going, I don't think these are just vibes. It seems like Candace's sources are legit. So I've proven myself in the market.
Yeah, I'm not sure that that would legitimize your sources as being legitimate when it comes to the idea that, oh, they all believe that there's a conspiracy going on, which is actually what your claim is now. How
Well,
would that
I was
actually,
just-
hang on, I'm almost done.
I was talking to PVD.
How would that
about-
legitimize? Well, it's not his debate. How would it legitimize these sources that even if it's the case that you get some court footage or some things like this, why would it legitimize that your sources are telling you all the marshals believe it's a conspiracy, all the police believe it's a conspiracy, everybody believes it? How would that legitimize
Well,
any
what
of
I
that?
am saying to you, and you are not forced to believe it. So let me just explain what I was answering here, and I think that you understood what I was saying. Is I have, because people trust me, compiled a lot of information and presented it to the public, and this information has been proven true. We've presented photos, we have presented videos, never before seen stuff. The public has never seen it. And so what that does is your audience goes, okay.
Seems to infer that you think that he owes you answers. If that's the case, then don't you owe answers?
Yeah, well, I feel like I'm answering your questions and his questions.
And a lot of those seeds of distrust?
Well, I think they're doing a pretty good job themselves, if I'm being honest. You can blame it on Candace all you want.
So here's a post from the pillow-biting homosexual. This debate was basically unwatchable. But what is truly striking is how Charlie Kirk has become a background character in the endless soap opera about his own. The story now revolves around the raging narcissist Candace Owens and the mass psychosis that she has induced. Of course, they're calling him a fed. By the way, I believe Candace Owens is wrong on like 8 of the 10 conspiracies that she has come up with. Am I a fed? Well, no. It's because these people are disingenuous. But if I was famous like Nick, they'll be saying the same thing. I'd say it's certainly a win that you pocketed another $300,000 plus AdSense money before Tyler Robinson for certainly gets found guilty and hopefully executed. A fitting end to the most successful political grift of all time, besides Trump. And this is reacting to a no tweet from Candace Owens saying, Charlie Kirk died, but Nick's the victim. Just shut the f***, Nick. Stop grifting off his death. Just shut up, you perpetual victim. And she replied under this, almost ratioing him, just admit you picked the wrong horse. Don't spike your ball and go home, Nick. And he replies, what exactly is the argument that you thought you won? I think the first hour was debating the definition of the word interference. And overwhelming. Complete waste of time. But of course, you are the center of attention and made money. That's the winning condition for you. Also, Nick Fuentes did get ratio in the previous post where he said that debate was basically unwatchable. But what is truly striking is how Charlie Kirk has become a background character in the endless soap opera about his own murder. The story now revolves around the raging narcissist Candace Owens and the mad psychosis that she has induced. Candace Owens ratioed him under this post. In other words, you publicly said that you were backing Andrew Wilson, and now you're coping with the fact that he lost badly. Nick Fuentes will never forgive this. I can't wait for the 1 hour segment just going off on her.
We all know that there are people who will agree with you. And by the way, PBD's crowd mostly thought you won. We'll bring up our own poll. But you know that there are people who will already agree with you no matter what, people who will agree with her no matter what. Then there are some who have ears to hear, eyes to see. How do you think that needle will be moved from today?
I think it's the beginning of a snowball effect.
Okay.
So now that she's been challenged, I think, and had to give an accounting for the evidence, did a very poor job. I think that more of them will feel compelled to do more of these debates, or at least I'm hoping so. And I think that'll create the snowball effect. At least that's what I'm hoping. But ultimately, there wasn't a need to push back too much on too many things, because she just admitted that she didn't have any evidence for anything.
Well,
so
that
where do you go from there? You're like, hey, do you have any evidence for that? And they're like, no. She went back on all of her claims. And so, like, where do you go from there? In other words, there was nowhere I needed to go to demonstrate what it was I was trying to demonstrate, which is that these people have lots and lots of claims, and the second they're confronted with them, they back off on all of them. Every single time. Her sources, what a joke that was. My sources told me. Well, what validates your sources? The fact that I've released some, footage and stuff. Yeah. How would that validate your sources in these things? That makes no sense at all. But ultimately, she didn't have anything. She had nothing. She literally had nothing. And so what made this an easy debate for me was that she didn't have nothing. Like, what do you want me to do?
Of course, Nico would never miss an opportunity to meet Nick Fuentes, his idol, who he worshipped only a year ago. And he also posts that he's a Fed. Dan Bilzerian for Congress, funny enough, says, gay Jew Fed. Nicely said by the two Jews themselves. What the fuck, bro? But it's just a sick joke. So here's Nico, of course, as usual. Every Fed is desperately trying to make this about the left. And this is Sneako's I Got You. He says, whoa. And this is a no tweet from Andrew Wilson saying, nothing has to do with Erica Kirk. She's a terrible leader and a femcon like the rest of the TPUSA and a moron. The principle here is what I am speaking to. This is groundbreaking by the cuck. It's almost as if he didn't say the exact same thing in the debate, guys. He really got him good.
A lot of people are bitching about Patrick Bet-David being the moderator. I think he did fine. I mean, out of the choices that I had, I think that he was a fine choice. I think Myron would have been a fine choice too. You know what I mean? But we went with what we thought everyone could agree to would be the best for that situation.
To go with Patrick Bet-David, my only concern was I wish that they had done time rounds. I would have heavily suggested that after the first portion of the debate. As you guys know, the first portion of the debate was like free flow, etc. I would have heavily said we need to go to time rounds, guys. We need to go to time rounds. 1 minute each, 2 minutes each. If you guys want to go fire round and make it more dynamic. And that would just be 10 times more fair.